There's a shutter wheel or interrupter that rotates around the magnet and activates and deactivates the sensor by blocking the magnetic field between the Hall effect sensor and the magnet. This on-off magnetic attraction ultimately causes the magnet to break loose from the original component. Our design advantage is easy to see. Our engineers use a 500-pound shear strength adhesive to secure the magnet in place. They also completely encapsulated the magnet in this plastic housing, forever eliminating any possibility of magnet loss failure. Think about it. This improvement over OE, engineered and manufactured right here in the USA, makes it sensible to replace the cam sensor before the original destroys the synchronizer. Remember, we've never had a failure. None. Zero. Problem solved. Another Wells advantage.
Okay, welcome to another live Wells Tech training event. We are so happy you are here. Today we're going to take a review of what we've learned so far. This is the class for everyone who doesn't do it every day. And for the ones that do, I'm sure you're going to catch a couple tips here and there. Okay, joining me today, I have Dave Miller. Dave Miller. And I don't think you've met Dave Miller really formally. Dave and I have known each other for a long time, probably 30 years or more. And he worked at an engine rebuilder. He was a diagnostic guy and also an engine rebuilder for 40 years.
Long time.
Right, long time. So he knows how to rebuild engines. If I was going to have an engine rebuild, I'd have this guy do it. There's no doubt, okay? And he's a great diagnostic guy. He's been working for Wells for a couple of years now.
A couple years, yeah.
A couple of years. What a great way to retire, huh?
Yeah, a lot easier than being under the hood.
Yes, yes it is. Yeah, but it does have its challenges.
Yeah.
You do keep busy. Okay, and all right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through first the tools that we normally use. And the reason why we're gonna do that is because having the right tools is critical. You know, like when you first started working here, he didn't know we had the right tools, and he was out there with jumper wires and everything else, trying to make everything work, and it's like, whoa, time out. We got tools to do that, okay?
I had some octopuses sometimes.
Yes, you did, and which is normal for you guys out there, and if you want to go like have 3 traces on a scope, you're going to have an octopus on there, especially if you're looking at amperage on one of them. And we're going to go through that today and make sure that everybody's got the right tools. And a great place to buy these tools is AES Wave. In fact, we buy 95% of our stuff there. They got great prices, and they have tools that you don't find every place. Okay, so it's a great place to go out. I'm going to bring up their website here so you can go out there and check it out. Okay, so where do you want to start? Probably with the meter, huh?
Meter's basic.
Okay, meter. They're all basic, right? And for the meter, we're using a Fluke 78. Okay, and any meter will work. I mean, there's a lot of good meters. We're not saying you got to go out there and buy the meter or the scan tool or the scope that we have, that's for sure. But the leads, okay, these leads that we use are really long and they are very pliable, meaning they're easy to work with, you know, and they don't get tangled up very often because of that, and they work very well. And today we're going to be doing a voltage drop test with them, and we'll show you, you know, why it's so important to have leads that are long enough and easy to work with. Plus, the ends come apart very easily, where you can put, you know, a back probe in there if you want, and it's easy to connect, right? There's not a bunch of messing around. So all these tools out there, they're all made to fit together. All right, so there you go. There's our leads. All right. Next, let's take a look at this. amp clamp. This is the amp clamp that we use. This is an OTC amp clamp, 60 amp clamp. We've used it to do, what was it called? Relative compression. Relative compression. Also, we looked at amperage draw on all kinds of stuff, right?
The Buick that we did.
The Buick, with the, we were looking at the voltage or the amperage being drawn by the ignition coils and the injectors at the same time. What a great tool. And going with this tool, okay, it's called a BNC connector on one end, which means you gotta have the female end that goes along with that. And normally it's a banana plug that goes on there. Now when you use a banana plug to measure amperage and you're gonna use it onto your meter, it's actually pretty easy to do. It's got one side, you see the little tab there, that means ground, that's ground side, so it goes into the ground side. It's very easy to plug in and you're ready to go. However, if you're gonna do it on your scope and you're gonna use this, it creates a problem. What problem is that, Dave?
The big problem is that nothing wants to mount into the hole here because it's so close.
Because
and
it's
then you
so
end
close.
up
Yep.
putting pieces on there that make it look like it's an octopus.
Right, so you got, if you want, you need a couple different grounds, or if you need to tap into here, all of a sudden you start growing things out of there with a bunch of jumper wires.
Yep.
And it creates a mess, and it's not a, you're at high risk of getting a
Right.
bad scope pattern.
And that would goof up your whole diagnostics.
Right, so goof up everything, and it just frustrates you when you can't get the pattern that you know you're looking for. All right? So what we suggest is to not use this, use this. And you can get this from AES Wave. It's a little adapter, plug on there, and now look. Everything is out of our way. We can get to the back end of these plugs if we need to. Everything is right out in the open. It's much, much easier, and saves a lot of frustration. Okay, just a simple little tool like this. But if you're gonna go out there and get an amp clamp, be sure to get one of these with it. Get a banana plug too. Okay? What's next? That's where I was gonna go
There you
to.
go.
Yeah, this is called a fuse buddy. You can get these out there too. And what this is a way to remove a fuse, put this in the place of it, put the fuse in the side so the circuit is still fused, put this in the place of it, then you can take your amp clamp and you can connect it very easily. Or if you want to just measure voltage or whatever you're looking for there, you can go right onto the fuse. It's very easy to get to. They come in a couple different sizes because there's different fuse configurations out there. And what a great tool. It's called a fuse buddy. Okay, and we have used that, I think on that Buick, right?
Yeah.
Where we showed the, where we amp clamped the fuse that fed the coils and the injectors. And so we're able to look at the injectors and the coils at the same time.
Right.
What a great tool.
And what's easy about this is if you look up a wiring diagram, it's a lot easier to find where the fuse location is than to try to find where some connector is if you're looking for wires.
Yeah, isn't that true?
So you go to the fuse, pop her in there.
It usually
It's easier
is.
to, usually, yeah. We've had a couple
Usually
times
is.
when it's
We've had some challenges.
nothing's
like,
set in stone.
with our vehicle over there today. But yes, it just having an arsenal that you can use is
you gotta have that.
mandatory. You gotta have it. You gotta have it. You gotta have that. And another thing that becomes a problem these days is back probing. Okay, back probes. We have our back probes, and we keep our back probes close to us, meaning we don't let anybody use these because we know they're gonna
Disappear.
get legs. Yep. Okay. One of the first back probes that we used was one like this, and this worked great. I mean, for many years, until they started making the seals around the wires tighter. Okay, and smaller wires.
And smaller wires.
And that created a problem because this is too big to fit in there, and you'd be poking in there, you'd never get it in all the way. It was a great back probe. We bought them from Mac Tools way back when, and we still use them occasionally depending upon the vehicle that we have. Another back probe that we got was from AES Wave, and this was regular back probes like this. And they work great. They do have a point on them. They do work great, but they are a little thick to get into tight spots these days. So they work, but we do have a better way, which is like this right here. These are called acupuncture, right? Acupuncture back probes. And these are a skinny wire, that's a very stiff wire, and I have never had a problem back probing anything with these. I mean, goes right in very easily, and you get right to the connector.
That's the only thing I've been able to work on some of the later computers. I was working on a 07 Ford a couple weeks ago, and I had my old ones. I couldn't even get them in there.
Is that right?
Yeah, they just wouldn't work.
Okay.
Luckily, I had those, and they worked.
And these worked. Yep. And these also have a little notch in them where you're supposed to be able to reach around the wire and then poke it through. What do you think about that?
Well, that's another idea. That's old technology. Back when I was first working on cars, that's the only technology I really had.
They used to have they call them crocodile. I guess these don't have the piercers on there, but the crocodile piercer thing that you grab onto the wire and poke like 4 holes in it.
They worked, but a couple months later, you might have the car back with a resistance issue from the fact that where you probed that wire, it corroded. And
it was recommended to put this on there, right? Liquid electric tape, or tape in a can.
Tape in a can.
You call it, right? Tape in a can. And so it was recommended to wipe the wire down so this would stick to the outside of the wire and hopefully seal that puncture hole up again. And also some of them were saying, oh, the hole is so small that the rubber goes back and seals it up. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
To a point.
To a point. I've never seen that really work.
But not like, it's not like when you got these. This is what you want to do. The only time you don't want to use these is when you can't.
Right.
And there's certain instances when you can't, where you can't get them in because it's too close to a connector.
Yep.
And you got to go into the wire up from there.
Right. There are going to be times when even the acupuncture ones don't work, where you're still going to pierce a wire, and it's recommended to put this on. But you have seen times when you were in the garage where they'd come back a year or two later.
A couple of them probably cars that I worked on a couple years before that.
And they would be starting to corrode in the wire in that spot. So that's not something you want to do on a regular basis. And if you're in the habit of doing that, get out of that habit. Get yourself some. The reason why you do that is because you don't have good back probes. And by the way, paper clips don't work these days. You need a real back probe. Plus, you take a back probe like this, and you can stick it right onto the lead of the wire. That easy. Okay, and you don't have to try and clip it and stuff like that. So there you go, back probes. Go out to AES Wave, and get yourself some good back probes. And if you can't afford all this stuff right away, and you can only afford one thing at a time, get these first.
Definitely.
Get these first. Okay. All right, so there you go, back probes. I think that's about it for our tools. And what we'll be using as a scope is a Virus or a Modus. We do have both. The reason why we have these is because they're most popular. We do buy our tools. We don't have them given to us. None of our tools. We buy all this stuff. So, we really don't owe anything to anybody. As far as the tool companies go, the reason why we chose the Virus is because it's most popular out there, and the Modus too. And there's other scopes out there that you could be using your laptop with that work great. OTC has got some scopes out there that are just fantastic. There's a lot of good scopes out there. So no matter what one you have, we're not saying, hey, trade in your scope and get this. The way that we're going to go through the instruction, you should be able to follow with your scope and do exactly the same things that we're doing. And what we're going to focus on first is where to set our scope and where to start our diagnostics. Like, let's say we want to look at a Hall effect crank sensor. Okay, where should we set our scope and where should we start? That type of thing. And I know that they do have provisions in a tool like this, but if you got to look that up every time, it takes to be a lot of work. And one of the things that we have found, and I know I'm guilty of this too, is you buy a new tool, like let's say a scope, right? and you find out that, boy, it's going to take, there's a learning curve here.
Definitely a learning curve.
It's going to take me a while before I can use a scope because I have to learn how to use it first. And it discourages you. You want a tool that you can grab out of your toolbox, put it on the car, and be ready to go. And that's our objective with this training, is to get you to that point where you don't have to go through the learning curve of using your scope, because then you'll use it more often and your diagnostics will be better. You know, somebody with knowledge is the most
Right.
important guy in the shop, and that's where we want you guys to be. We want you to be able to grab your scope, go out there on any problem, and boom.
I was always guilty of that, but it has to do with when you're in your shop, you got so much time to get a car done,
That's right.
and you don't want to take 15 minutes to try to figure out how to use a scope.
15 minutes or an hour
Well, that's on the
to
light
get
side.
it up to speed.
Right, and it
Right.
could take you a lot longer than that, and then if you get frustrated, then you wasted some time. But the
And
way I
those-
did it the best, would I'd stay after work once in a while and just
Yeah.
to gain my knowledge and learn it.
That's what we want you to do with this. You know, when we go through an instruction, take your meter and do that. Once you do it, it'll get easier the next time. You'll know what to do, and it'll be right there, especially if you got good tools to work with. And good tools, by good tools, what I mean are good leads and the right amp clamp and the right hookup on your meter. It just makes life so much easier. And it'll encourage you to use your scope more often. And that's where we want to be. You know, where are we going to be 10 years from now if you're not using a scope?
You'd be lost.
You're going to be lost. You're going to be changing tires and you're going to be dumping oil.
You can't be a parts changer anymore.
No.
You just waste too much time and money.
You have to. And every aspect of the vehicle has got a computer or electronic device attached to it. Today, you have to understand what's going on. You have to understand what you're seeing with your scope and what it's telling you, you know, and that's our objective. What we want to do is get to the point where the first thing you grab out of your toolbox is your scope and you go to it. And so that's where we want to be. All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
That should be good.
Okay.
We covered it all.
So next time we're going to start on the scope, and we're going to take you step by step through that. This time we're going to do something what we did with our meter. Oh yeah!
Gotta do
Before we go, let's do
Ohm's
this.
law, yeah.
Let's do Ohm's law. Remember, we did Ohm's law too. And remember, Ohm's law really does work to help you fix a car. All right. Remember, Ohm's law. E, which is volts. Energy is the way I think of that. And I, which is amps. I change that. I don't like to use I like to use A. So it's easier to remember, and it stands for amps, right?
Right.
And R is resistance. Okay? So there we are. If we look at this, we can remember this by ear. E-A-R, right? So it's a lot easier to remember that way. And this times this equals this. So amps times resistance equals volts, right? And we put a dividing line, a divider right there, because this divided into this equals this, and this divided into this equals this.
So
Okay.
two division
Two
problems and one multiplication.
One multiplication, right? That's all you got to remember. Okay, so now that vehicle that we're measuring the injector, remember that?
Yep.
So we had approximately 14 volts on the system, right? And our resistance was somewhere around 13 ohms resistance. So if we take our Ohm's law here and divide resistance into volts, 13 into 14, we get approximately 1.1, right?
Right.
Okay, and what did we actually measure on the amperage
Right
drop?
around 0.9.
0.9 was our actual measurement of that resistance. Is this close enough to fix cars?
Close enough to fix a car.
It's close enough to fix cars, because we can't get an exact measurement here and we don't have an exact measurement there. But if we do that multiplication in our head, or division,
Yep.
it comes out pretty darn close, and we know approximately the amperage resistance or amperage reading we should be getting off of that
Right.
injector. So there you go. Ohm's law.
It's not that hard.
Nope.
Just takes a little practice and
Just a
thinking.
little practice, and just what it does is it get your mind thinking in an electrical way or electronic way. And just like when you envision how a cooling system is working and the coolant is flowing through, and you envision how an exhaust system works, how the exhaust passes through and what it goes through to get out the other end, electricity should be the same way. You should be able to envision what you're about to repair. Okay, and a big part of that too is reading wiring diagrams, and we're going to get into that too as we go along here. All right,
Yeah.
ready to go have some fun?
Oh, yeah,
Play
let's
with
go.
the car?
Check a car out here.
All right, you're going to make me carry the meter, huh?
Sure.
All right, jeez. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. David, what do we got here?
Well, we've got a O2 Mazda Tribute, and we're going to
Alright.
do a voltage drop test on it for the
Okay.
fuel pump.
Okay, very good. I see we got our Actron
Yeah.
here hooked up there, and so we're going to put our fluke over here. The Actron meter, that works just fine, right?
Works great.
Yep, and
More
it's a lot less
economical.
expensive,
Yep.
more economical. There's a lot of good meters out there. You know, you don't have to have the high-end meter to do everything. Okay, very good. So what's first?
Okay, well, what's first is I want to make a good point here. Notice how everything's kind of organized. We got it in one spot. Mm-hmm. And the reason we can do that, we got the nice long cord on there.
Right, you got the nice leads. You don't have any jumper
and
wires
that
in there.
helps you so much. Otherwise, you'd be going back and forth.
So you can
trying
do
to-
everything as
Yeah.
far as a fuel pump
Yeah.
motor test right from here, right?
Yeah, works right
Okay,
this way,
all right.
especially if you're by yourself. You know, you can.
Good.
Get
So
everything all
what do
hooked
you
up.
got set up first?
Okay, well, the first thing, of course, I got the meter here, but
Mm-hmm.
one thing I want to show first, and we just started using this. We just got this, and this is from ASE Wave, and this is a U-Activate.
You activate.
Good name for that is because you activate the relays.
You activate the relay. Okay, great way to
So,
remember
and
that.
it comes with many different adapters for all
Okay.
the different type of relays out there.
Right.
In this particular one, everything is in an easy area here because the fuel pump relay's here and the fuel pump fuse is over here.
All right.
So all you basically got to do is pull the fuse out,
Yep.
see what type of fuse you have. And this is a 5-pin, but the 5th pin is
Just
really
use
just
the
a
4.
dead. Yeah, and you just pick out the one that you have, and
Okay.
you just got to install that in there.
Nice.
Pretty slick.
So now you can turn that fuel pump on
Yep,
and
you'll be able
off
to turn the fuel pump
with
on.
a flip a switch.
The flip of a
You
switch.
could also do that with the jumper wire, right?
Oh yeah, you could do
You
the
could jump
jumper
across
wire,
the,
jump across.
What is
lot
it,
of
the
different-
86 or 87 and 30?
Yeah. And,
86 and 30.
it's just got the controls on here, and even coming out here, I've even got the other side of the circuit to the meter.
Okay.
There's a pin for that, and then
Good.
has an on-off, and then leads to tell you which one is going to be the one you want to hook to. So it's really a great tool
stuff.
too.
All right. What else?
Well, the next part here's right here's where the fuse was for the fuel pump.
Right.
We got our little fuse buddy here,
All right.
and this is a different one than the one we were showing on our picture there before, because this is for the smaller fuse.
Okay.
And
So you got to have a couple different
yeah,
ones
but
like
take
that.
fuse out there, put it in here,
Okay.
assemble that. And the reason I got this in here, we're going to get a picture of the current flow to the fuel pump
Okay.
when we get everything going. So I got the amp
Good
clamp.
stuff. Yep.
Hook the amp clamp on there as such as that.
Nice.
And we got our,
We could also amp clamp here, couldn't we?
could there. I
Okay.
just mainly want to do this just to show,
Yeah,
different- you know,
yeah,
you
sure.
got a lot of things you can do here.
No, good stuff.
And of course we got this hooked up so that we're going to see the waveform of the current going
So
through
that's
there.
all we have to do is plug into
Yep,
the
just gotta
fuel pump
plug into
connector, right?
there, right, and then we'll activate it with
All right.
this. And
While you're going back there and do that, let me talk about the T-shirt giveaway. You probably have been wondering if you visited us before, what the heck, did they run out of T-shirts? They haven't talked about the T-shirt giveaway. Well, we decided to do it on the second half this time. And yes, we still have plenty of T-shirts. We have T-shirts your size, your wife's size, everybody's size. Okay, here's your question. All right. In the 1800s, the first ohm meter was invented and used. Actually, it was called a galvanometer or a galvanometer, galvan meter. Okay, that was in the 1800s. Closest one to the year will win a shirt. Okay, there you go. Closest one to the year, just text that in, 1800 something, right? And we'll send you out a t-shirt. Okay, Dave, how you doing?
Doing good. What's really nice about a Mazda Tribute is they were nice enough to put a opening on top of the fuel tank.
Oh, so they got an access plate
yeah, an
back
access
there?
point, just have to move the rear seat.
Good.
So I got our little ASC wave acupuncture probe here,
All right.
the ones we were talking about. And we picked out the wire, that's the circuit to the fuel pump. We're just gonna install it here. Just like so. And I should have a connection now. How's the connection out there, Mark?
Your meter is dead.
My meter's dead.
Yeah, your meter's reading nothing.
Like the battery went out of the meter?
Maybe. Maybe we better flop here and put our other meter on.
That's strange. Sure is dead, huh?
Well,
Yep, it's
I
dead.
don't see anything lit up.
It's dead. Just was working 5 minutes ago. but
Well,
that's
I know, but
the life of a mechanic.
See, now we're live, so yeah, that is a lesson. Nothing works when you go live. Did you know that? There we go. Now we got something.
Hey,
there you go.
look at that.
You're all set. Okay.
Now let me get this up here if you can see it.
Yep.
So anyways, what you're going to see on there, you're seeing 12 volts. Even though we're connected on just from 12 volts to 12 volts,
Okay.
when the circuit's not complete, this is going back to ground.
Right.
So it's just like you're taking 12 and putting it to ground.
Okay. So, all right, good. So
Okay.
when you flip that switch,
Yep, everything.
we're going to actually activate that fuel pump and make it work. So we should be able to see the voltage drop
Yep.
off of here then, correct?
Yep, you'll see it right here.
Okay. All right, let's see. See what we got.
Look at that. Can you hear the pump running?
Yep, I hear it.
Yep,
Okay, and we have a wave over here.
yep. Got a wave
All
on the
right.
deal.
And then also we're at 0.7.
Fairly high.
Okay, that is a
That's
little
fairly
high. You know, if this vehicle had a problem with, let's say it had a problem with acceleration up a hill under a heavy load, something to do with a heavy load, or maybe even a cold start problem, we might want to fix that. Okay, this vehicle doesn't have that issue, but if it did, we sure would take a look at that, because 0.5 is a rule of thumb. You shouldn't be over a 0.5 voltage drop, and we're at 0.7. Now, is that bad enough to cause a catastrophic problem? No, it won't.
Should.
But if you're having a weird problem, an unusual problem where it is, my microphone just fell off. See, nothing works when you go live. Okay. If we had an unusual problem, we would want to take a look at that and correct that error. So there you go. What a great demonstration to make life a lot easier.
I wish I'd had some of these tools 20 years ago.
I wish I did too. Yes, yeah, they would have came in handy. All right, is there anything else you want to add?
That should be good. Just the big thing, like I did say, just if you take your time and learn this stuff,
Right.
it's
And that's what
a
we're going
lot
to
more
do. Next
enjoyable.
time we're going to go step by step, how to set up your scope, what to look at. We'll pick out something to test on a vehicle, that kind of thing. So that's what's coming up next. Be sure to be here and join us. It's only going to get better from here. All right. We do appreciate you being here. Without you being there, we could not be here. And Hannah is shaking her hands at me going,
We have a comment from 1889.
okay,
Answer.
with an answer. All right. Let's see what we got here. Coming from 1889. No, that is not the correct answer, but because you did answer and nobody else answered, you are the closest. And we'd be glad to send you out a t-shirt. And if you really want one, we'll send you a wet one. How's that? Okay, so the correct answer is actually 1820, if you can believe that, 1820.
wow.
Before the Civil War, they had a galvanometer, and they were checking resistance with that. Stuff's been around a long time and still is used today. It's pretty amazing. All right,
It's good.
are we good?
We're good.
We good? Any other comments, questions? Are we good? Okay. Again, Without you being there, we wouldn't be here. We do appreciate you being here. And we'll see you again next time in the Wells Tech Garage.